Good afternoon. I'm Steve Bassnett, and along with Aaron Marsden, I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of CANASA and Security Canada to today's online learning session. I would like to say a special thank you to Panasonic Canada Incorporated for their support and sponsoring today's session. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Zorn and Rui of Panasonic Canada. Zorn is Panasonic's National Solutions Manager. With more than 28 years of experience in the industry, Zorn is well versed in collaborating with dealers and end customers in creating security systems, regardless of their complexity. Rui is Panasonic's National Technical Product Manager. He has a broad depth of experience ranging from advising dealers on complexities related to existing multi-vendor security systems to designing and creating custom products with end customers. Feel free to type any questions you may have during the session into the Q&A window at the bottom of the screen, and they will respond during the Q&A portion roughly 20 minutes from now. I will now turn the session over to Zorn and Rui. Welcome, guys, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Steve. Great to be here, and good afternoon to everyone. Welcome, and thanks again for taking time out of your busy day to join us. I'm Zorn, and with me is Rui. We're part of the Panasonic security team. We're based out of the Mississauga, Ontario head office. But of course, today we're coming to you from our homes. We're going to cover an exciting new product, the Panasonic U series. We're going to make this quick, probably 30 minutes or less, depending on the number of questions we get. So with that said, we'll jump right in. I'm going to start. Rui's going to jump in the middle, and then I'll close it off at the end. And we're both going to be available for the Q&A at the end as well. So today's agenda, pretty simple. As I said, we're going to cover the U series, the new product line for Panasonic, the value proposition, where exactly this series fits in the market, some new brackets that we've just introduced, and then cover some use cases or vertical markets at the end where we see this product as a fit. And then as mentioned, a Q&A right at the very end. Okay, so as mentioned, we're introducing the new U series today. Right off the top, I want to confirm this line of cameras is 100% designed and assembled in Panasonic factories. Okay, this is not an OEM of any kind where we've slapped our name on somebody else's camera or anything like that. This camera goes through the same quality control processes that go into our current line, and this is a true Panasonic built product. So I wanted to clear that up right off the top. Traditionally, Panasonic products have addressed, the larger end user or the enterprise type project or client, premium quality that will last for years with low failure rates and at a premium cost. Okay, we've never really played in that true entry level arena. I'm talking, smaller 16 and under camera projects. And this new U series doesn't necessarily fall into that space as well. This is not a race to the bottom product line, but we've recognized that there is a market for, say, that mid-range client or even that enterprise type client that may want to buy a premium camera, but may have some budget restraints. Okay, so we've positioned the U series to fit in that space. So high quality, long lasting, competitive price point with a few features dropped, which I'm going to cover in the upcoming slides, but no decline in quality at all. Okay, so this is the lineup. As you can see, right now it's fixed cameras, so there's no PTZs or 360s or anything like that. It's fixed cameras across the board, all 1080p, and starting at the left in 2 megapixel and 4 megapixel. We go to the top in motorized varifocal lenses, indoor and outdoor, in dome style or box style, and the same to the right in fixed lenses, indoor, outdoor, dome style, and box style. So 13 cameras to start this new lineup. So I'm going to cover what we call the iPRO step story, which is basically now our 3 tiers of products. Okay, starting in the top right, the X series is our current, you call it high ticket or higher end line. We're into the PTZs, the multi-sensors, artificial intelligence, that kind of thing, the real top tier client. In the middle is S series. This is our current camera line. It covers most of the fixed camera line and also covers multiple resolutions, 720p, 1080p, 5 megapixel, 4K, to name a few. Until now, the S series is what's been sold and quoted in most of our projects. Okay, so enter the U series. As mentioned earlier, fixed domes and bullets at 2 megapixel and 4 megapixel. But as you see here, we've listed a few feature differences. Okay, I'm going to cover a few of them. The new U series doesn't have audio. Other than, police interview rooms, things like that, we don't run into too many audio application requests. And in the few cases where we may need audio, we can bump you up to the S series, in which most cameras in that lineup come audio capable. Okay. The new U series is H.265 compression only. Okay. The S series is 264, 265, and JPEG. Most of our VMS partners are H.265 ready, including our Video Insight VMS platform, which Rui's going to discuss in a few minutes. So you're okay on most VMS platforms. You just have to be really careful quoting this product on some older NVRs. They may only be H.264 ready. And when you try to connect U series to an H.264 NVR, it's not going to work. It's not going to connect. Okay. Want to discuss one more. There's SSL certificate as well. That's built-in encryption. That protects the camera against outside hacking or data leakage and things like that. For S series, it's standard in the camera. It's not in the U series. But again, when SSL certificate is of interest or is a requirement, we're usually up in the high-end enterprise space anyway. So that's when we bring in the S series at that point. So as you can see, a few less features in the new U series when you compare it to the S, but none that we think are going to limit you in most projects. Okay, so we'll go to the next one now. So everybody's going to ask about price. I mean, obviously I can't shoot out price here, but what I will say is when you take a U series model and compare it to the equivalent S series model, you can expect up to 25% savings. So when you're comparing apples to apples, 25% is what you can potentially save. And if you take a U series, which is 1080p as mentioned, compare it to our S series 720p, it's even more savings. So you can now take that 720p client, upgrade them to 1080p, and pass on the cost savings to them as well. And just before we end off on price, I want to mention it's very important to note that we have not cut any corners as far as image quality or low light performance or any key performance features in the U series cameras. That might be a perception, with a lower priced camera, but not in this case at all. Okay. With that said, the next slide will be a short video. It just shows you the performance of the S series in a really in tough lighting conditions. It just shows you how you still get a usable picture even in a 2 to 5 lux environment. So this will be on for a few seconds, and at that point, I'm gonna pass it over to Rui for his part.
Thank you, Zoran. So as Zoran already touched on, there's absolutely no corner cutting with this product. So this product is part of what we call the iPRO lineup, which means as Zoran mentioned, 5-year warranty and the same build quality that goes into it, including the actual criteria that we have for not just components, but for actual the tests that we perform on the U series are the same that we perform on the S and the X series. So some of the tests that we perform, there's something called a hexagonal drum test, and I've actually had the privilege to see that at our factory in Japan. They actually have this massive jig that they actually put the box through in there with the packaging, and they tumble it because, as you can imagine, there's some pretty sensitive optics in some of these cameras, and we want to make sure that not only is it at top quality when it's packaged at the factory, we want to make sure that it's in the same optimal condition when it reaches the end user or the installer when they're about to install it, right? And that also transcends into impact test, vibration test, even as far as inspecting X-ray inspection of some of the components we receive from our suppliers. We don't just trust that the components or the chipsets we receive are good. We actually do some quality assurance on those as well. And just to end off there, everybody's always, especially in the Canadian climate, the waterproof and kind of water ingression is always a test that we take very seriously, especially in our climate and the drastic temperature changes we have. Interoperability, Zoran touched on this as well. So right now, obviously these are compatible with our Panasonic Video Insight, which is the orange logo here. Some of our partners as well. So Genetec, Milestone, Exact, Lenel, Cognify. This list is growing all the time. So if you do want the absolute latest list, you can visit our global site. So it's at security.panasonic.com. And under the design tools, there's a VMS compatibility chart. I believe that's updated monthly. So any new partners that are added and any new VMS partners that have added this to the compatibility list will be listed on there every month. Or alternate, you can always reach out to myself or Zoran, and if you're unsure, you want to double check. And Zoran also touched on a Video Insight. So as some of you may know already, so with our Video Insight platform, if you buy an S series or an X series cameras, it has a bundled license already. So for the Video Insight platform, and it's a one-time, it's like a forever license. It's not, you don't need to renew it or anything. The U series also has the same bundled license in there, right? So if you have already the Video Insight platform, or you're thinking about migrating to Video Insight, the U series, the S series, or the X series would all have the bundled licenses already in there. And the hardware and the server license would just be your initial cost. It's a one-time cost. And then as you add cameras, the licenses are built in. You can see some of the benefits compared to some other methods for VMS. And with this launch of the U series, we've actually launched a new series of brackets as well. Some of these may look a little bit like the current brackets, but we've also launched a new color. So the new cameras, any new cameras, which started with the U series and then moved on to our AI cameras as well, they're a new color we call it iPRO white. It is a certain shade of white, you could say. And these new mounts are all going to be that color. But what we've also done at the same time is we moved to simplify mounts and mounting solutions, and also one mounting solution for basically our entire line of cameras, right? So some of these mounts that you see here, you can pick one in particular, like QWL 500. That one will work with our S series outdoor. It'll work with the U series, and it'll work with the X series, right? So we're coming out, we're moving towards one mounting solution for all of the different series of cameras. So from the installer point of view, or whoever is making the bill of materials, it's pretty simplistic. The Panasonic mounts will all fit the different Panasonic cameras. Of course, there are specific, if it's an indoor camera or it needs to be corner mounted or pole mounts, but the products are going to be interchangeable. They're all going to be one color in the very near future. So we've launched this as well. And these are some of the examples of how the look is. So there's a wall mount with an indoor dome, and you can see the compatible models on here as well. And you will get a copy of this presentation as well, or the video recording, so you don't have to furiously write this down if that's what you're doing. So pendant mounts, and this one is specific to the U series, because we realize in being budget conscious, sometimes you do want to run something into a concrete wall or a really hard surface that you don't want to, you don't want to add another piece in the back for the conduits, the conduit back box, right? So what we do include with every outdoor varifocal camera, we include this little attachment plate that you can actually run a conduit, whether it's a flex conduit or a fixed conduit. And this comes with the camera. So if at the very minimum, you have something in there to get you started without actually having to buy any extra hardware with that series of camera. And if you're totally confused about all the different mounts and what's what, and you don't really know where to go, and Zoran was busy that day and I'm not answering my phone or something like that, you can always download we have our app. So available on the App Store or Google Play. It's called the Panasonic Product Selector. So there you can pick the model of camera. And once you select that, it will show you the available mounts for it. And then you could even go more granular than that. You can actually pull spec sheets, get data sheets, drawings, pictures, that sort of thing, right from the app. And you can, this is free to download. And it's, again, as we release new mounting solutions, this will be continuously updated with new cameras and new mounts as well. And I'll hand it back over to Zoran to talk about some of the use cases.
Thanks, Rui. So I'm going to go over a few use cases or vertical markets that are similar in a sense that physical security is very important, but at times these types of clients are faced with limited budget dollars. and it can end up being a tug of war, balancing the need for superior camera quality versus available budget. First one is education. This is our main vertical for our Video Insight VMS platform that Rui just talked about. Educators love the licensing structure, but what we have found, they were happy to purchase our server and software, with the bundled licensing, but would use a lesser camera due to cost constraints. Okay, so, and as we know, school boards, some school boards have a lot of schools that require a minimum amount of cameras in each school, so budgets are always tight. So the U series, from a pure price point, is going to be a natural fit here. Next one is retail hospitality. Similar story here. These are clients with multiple locations, in some cases, multiple national locations, very price sensitive market. They spend wisely. And we see this as another price point opportunity to make a strong push into this vertical market of strip malls, restaurants, bars, shopping malls, that kind of thing. Excuse me. Logistics. This covers warehousing, transportation, that type of thing. A little more of a top tier camera client, but some of the new bracketry that Rui went over that, comes down off a warehouse ceiling or off a wall, are a real nice fit here. And just an overall opportunity to sell this type of client more cameras overall. Okay, and the last one is public safety. I look at law enforcement as a clientele that wants as few service issues as possible. Okay, RCMP, for example, have numerous remote locations across the country. Some are not even accessible by car. So a service call in places like this is a big deal. Okay, and not to mention, this is a client that can't have any video loss due to inferior products or anything like that, for obvious reasons. Just being able to sell law enforcement a top tier quality camera without worrying about service issues and at a competitive price, we think will go a long way in this segment as well. Okay. This is the time where we say thank you. It's about 20 minutes, but not quite yet. We want to add one thing. We want to introduce what we call the U Series seed program. Okay, so what this is, if any of you out there are end users, or you're an integrator that has an end user that may have an upcoming project and might be interested in looking at one of these cameras, scan the flow chart right there, and then follow the instructions, and our factory will send you one of these cameras to test and keep, just so you can do your testing, and gives you an opportunity to take a look at the picture quality and all the great features we just discussed. So if you can't scan it from here, just contact myself or Rui after, and we'll send you the link on how to get into the U Series seed program. But it's for end users that may have a project coming up that may want to have a look at one of these. And I believe it's 4 models you can choose from to get one into your hands. So take a look at that. So that's 20 minutes on the dot. That's what we were aiming for. This is the thank you point where I bring back Steve for the final wrap up. So I'll pass it back to you, Steve.
Great, thank you guys. That was excellent. It's almost like you've done it before. So we're going to jump into the questions now. First question we have, can you explain what a VI bundled license is?
Yeah, sure. So a VI bundled license is, so our platform, Video Insight, or we shorten it to VI. So if you are attaching one of our cameras to that platform, it automatically recognizes that it is an iPRO camera, and it basically has a built-in license. So you don't need to add like a camera license to the server. It's basically included in the camera, and the license is actually, so when it recognizes the camera, they start to communicate. And then they basically knows that it has a license, so you don't need to purchase an extra license for the server.
Okay, thank you. Next question, how does this series compare to the Panasonic E series from years past?
I can take this one.
Sure.
If you remember the beginning of my piece, I said the U series is a product 100% built and manufactured in Panasonic factories. The previous E series, which is from a few years back, was the exact opposite. This was an OEM an OEM partnership that we entered. It wasn't made in our factories. And, we discovered we had very little success. We discovered it was a Me Too product. It was low cost and everything like that. But, there wasn't any bracketry. The cameras were limited and it just didn't move for us. So this is the next tier. We're actually getting the cameras that we're building and adding, the features I talked about and the brackets as well.
Okay, thank you. And let's see, looks like our last question here. How long can we keep the U-Series camera from the seed program?
You can keep it forever. It's basically, so once, you filled out the form and gone through the necessary steps, once you have it in your hands, it's yours to keep. I think the only thing we ask for exchange is you will be getting a survey from us, and we just ask for some feedback on the product, just a couple minutes of your time, but the product itself is yours to keep.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, it looks like that was all of our questions. So that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you for joining us. And once again, thank you to Zoran and Rui and Panasonic Canada for their support.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for everybody joining.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing everybody again next week. Until then, be well.